Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the BirthWorker Evolution Society Online Summer Summit. We are in our second and final day, not our final summit, because we'll have one in 3 months. But we are starting out the afternoon with an amazing panel, Catching Our Babies and Saving Our Mamas. We are coming back to the fact that birth isn't a medicalized event. Being with mother is one of the most powerful ways to serve women. The community, as the midwife supporting us so we can catch our own babies, can be a safer alternative or the norm, depending on perspective. What is a midwife? And why do we need more Black and BIPOC midwives? Why is it important that our caregivers look like us, especially in birth? So we have some amazing panelists. We've been working through technical things, and we may have a few other guests drop in. If not, it's just going to be us, and we're going to have an amazing time because I believe that whoever's here is supposed to be here, and that's what it's about. So I have Yuvelka Reyes, I have Yasmin Teresa, and I have Irene Garzon. And they're going to introduce their sparkly, amazing selves in just a few sentences or two, popcorn style. Whoever wants to serve first, tell us where you're coming from, who you are and what you do in the world, and why this topic is so important.
Actually, I'd love to start with Irene. Because this is the first time we're seeing you in this summit. We were so happy to have you on the community podcast and also to speak to you on the last summit. I'd love to get everybody reintroduced to you and what the magic that you're bringing into the world.
Okay, but I'm really, really happy to be here with you again and with everybody who is watching us. I would describe myself now as a midwife educator. I've been a midwife for over almost 20 years, and I've been a midwife in almost every possible setting in several different countries. I'm from Spain. I live in the UK at present, and I've also worked in Bangladesh and Nepal. And for the last 3-4 years, I've been teaching midwives as a senior lecturer in a university. And just a few weeks ago, I've stopped working for the system, let's say, and I'm working just for myself now. And as I said, I'm educating midwives. I think that the way we are teaching midwifery is very highly academic, and it's losing more and more its essence, which is what you were saying in the introduction, just being with women. And this is what I want to recover. So at the moment, I'm trying to create a network of midwives from very many different countries to try and work together in how to improve midwifery care or care during birth and pregnancy in a global aspect, how we can help each other from different countries. Maybe the problem somebody's finding somewhere are some things, some difficulties that somebody in the group, in the course, faced earlier. So it's a very exciting project that I'm involved with, that I'm developing at the moment. And the question you ask, why do we need midwives? Well, it's really important. It's one of the most important times. Birth is one of the most important times in our lives. And so having someone caring who can protect that space, who can remove all the barriers to help us blossom and do what we are meant to do without having to focus in anything else is really important. And why do we need more midwives that look like us is just so important. We feel much more close together, and we that problem that we might face in society, if we have someone that we don't have to face that feeling, it's really important. I've worked most of my professional life has been in the UK, and yeah, we do have the same skin color, but you could say every time I look after a person who was a migrant like myself in the country, the connection was instant, because yes, we do have an extra thing in common that the rest of the people around that don't have. So I think it's extremely important for women to feel well accompanied, to feel safe, and to feel secure with the person that is accompanying them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And it's
Thank you.
always great to have the midwifery perspective as well. So we appreciate you for that just as much. Yuvalka, would you like to introduce yourself? So beautiful to hear your story yesterday. Thank you for coming back and being a part of the panel.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Well, for those of you who didn't get a chance to hear me talk yesterday, I'm Yuvalka. I am 20 years old, and I have a preemie baby who is now 15 months. She was 6 weeks early. So I am here to share my experience, and hopefully that can shed some light on some situations for some other people. As far as why it's important to have midwife or even doula, we can add in there too, because I never had a midwife, but I did have a doula that looks like us, is, well, your support system, as I've come to learn throughout all the stages of just motherhood in general, is super important. And it is important to feel comfortable and have a connection with somebody who's basically, they're sharing a very important moment in your life with you. So you want to feel connected to them, and you want to feel comfortable, and you want to feel like maybe you have some things in common with them. I am from upstate New York, so that's where I'm broadcasting to you guys from. But yeah, so my premature baby, who I don't like the title to call her a preemie baby, but for the sake of introducing myself, I guess it's kind of important. Yeah, that's why I connected with this topic pretty much.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, and we'll get even deeper into everything as we move forward in this dialogue. So important. Yasmin Teresa, love to be able to introduce you to everyone and the beautiful work that you do and the amazing t-shirt that you're wearing. So on brand.
You know, I had to. I saw it and I was like, that's for tomorrow. Greetings, everybody. Peace and blessings. I am Yasmin Teresa Garcia Bay, and I am a birth doula by ancestral calling, a student of traditional midwifery with a background in EMT and dietetics. I am also an author, a mother of twins, and someone who also trains doulas to become intuitive doulas. And I am the creator of the EBOP app, which is global directory of melanated birth workers and service providers worldwide that pertain to light work and birth work. And I am also the founder of the nonprofit EBOP Inc., which stands for Birth Options and Beyond. And I'm so excited to jump on this conversation, and you'll see firsthand a breastfeeding mom while you enjoy the talk.
So, so important. So, Kai, you want to get us started? You know, because again, as a birthing mom or aspiring mother, right? I know you have questions. And so, why don't we, like, there's so many perspectives about this. Midwifery care having a midwife, having a doula, we don't talk about, like, this isn't a medicalized event. You know, birthing is normal if you're low risk, right? But we're kind of given something else. So for an aspiring mom, you know, there's a lot of choices out there: home birth, hospital birth. What's the right thing for me? You know, is what I believe right? Should I follow my intuition? So there's so much here. So let's go.
Well, one thing that I'll throw out there, and Merida, I really appreciate the context. That's so important. How you generated that question, because I feel like a deer in headlights. When someone asks me, what are you wondering, and it's like everything. But what I love is that I've been able to really interact and engage with our beautiful speakers on very, very specific topics. And the more specific we get, the more I realize that there's a universe in each one of those topics. Yesterday, I got to ask, very specifically about breastfeeding and breast implants. That is a very important conversation to me, and it's something that I haven't even had the guts to ask anyone about. So to be able to to speak to someone like Lourdes yesterday, who is just so knowledgeable, really really helped my spirit to start to open up about the really vulnerable questions that I have. So what it is that I'm wondering, and that I'd love to ask first and foremost today, is the Merida, you kind of you rocked my world when you called to my attention that at my age, I'm actually considered to be a geriatric birth. And I'm like,
Tell
dang.
mothers. Are you serious? You gorgeous, dewy, juicy, and delicious right now. Okay. And for a while. Okay. But yet, geriatric. So right away, your clock is ticking. Tick tock, tick tock. Okay.
I'm not a person who's ever felt that. The people say their biological clock is ticking. I've never felt that. I was like, okay, I'm a woman. It happens when it happens. And when you said that word, that's when I started to feel that. And I'm wondering, just in the work that you all do, Irene, Yasmin, Teresa, Yuvalka, how does that phrase impact you, if at all, either you personally or your work? And please, anyone, feel free to jump in here.
Well, I feel like I said yesterday when I was talking about more of like my hospital experience, I noticed that lots of doctors and nurses and just the medical personnel in general, they're so desensitized to meeting with people who want to become mothers, who are pregnant, who just gave birth, and so when they deliver their messages or kind of just deliver like, okay, well, this is your condition, this is the time period that you have, it's very nerve-wracking most of the time. So it's another reason why it's important to have someone in your corner and your support system to kind of give you your confidence back, because yes, that may be true. And like my mom had a baby, I think it was 41 or 42. So she was considered high risk the whole time. And they would always remind her, this is a high risk pregnancy. This is a high risk pregnancy. And of course, Paulie, now being 4 years old, the pregnancy was okay. He came out healthy. And it was just like a fear that was kind of instilled, just being labeled under a title like that. So my advice and kind of what I think about it would just be, don't be so nerve-wracked or feel rushed or feel so intimidated by it, and get resources, talk to people, get information, because like I said, they put you in a category and they're so desensitized. The way they deliver their message is kind of like, wait, whoa, what do you mean high risk? Like, is there something wrong? Like I don't know. And it turns out everything's okay, but they just kind of have to tell you.
Now,
You
talk a
know?
little bit real quick, though, Mama, about the flip side of that. You being a teen mom.
Yeah, see, I was under that category, and that's like kind of a whole different side of the spectrum where I've noticed like doctors' visits, things like that. They that's another kind of stigma that I was placed under, where it's kind of like, oh, you're naive, you don't know what you're doing, you can't make your own decisions, Are you sure you don't want a C-section? Are you sure you don't want the epidural? Are you sure you want to breastfeed for that long? It was so many things that kind of like knock your confidence down a little bit, internally at least, where I had to kind of remind myself, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a young mom, I'm a teen mom, but I have a plan and this is what I want to do. And every visit, every ultrasound, every even delivery was just kind of like a desensitized response to what I was going through. So it was super important for me to have people there to remind me, like, you know what, you got this. Your ideas, they matter, So.
And then there's just something else I want you to talk about that you talked about last night that was so powerful. It was that disempowering feeling of hopelessness, like they were trying to steal your hope.
Yeah, that is true too, and it all plays the role. And I feel like, because I'm not trying to knock the medical personnel completely, some people really did help me, but I feel like it's just a matter of dealing with so many people, all day long, like even just talking to people, delivering the same message to so many people, that it just becomes kind of like, okay, this is the recited spiel I have to give you of blah 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 blah, where they're not really thinking about, like, okay, how can I deliver this message? Like when the pediatric doctor in the hospital told me and my boyfriend at the time that my daughter wasn't breathing right, or wasn't breathing properly, instead of sitting there and saying, like, hey, it's not that she's not breathing, it's just that, she's not retaining oxygen, so we can help her, we can do something. It was like hopelessness, fear. It was a whole bunch of mixed emotions that I needed to kind of bring myself back to. Even in the NICU with her, in the NICU, there were some nurses and people there that did kind of make me question myself, like, am I doing the right thing? I don't know. Like, should I not be? I was scared to hold her at first because of just, oh, you can't hold her, like things like that. And it's all plays into like these mixed emotions of just hopelessness and fear, and that stigma, whatever category you get put under, it just kind of tries to define you. So I don't think that anybody should let the category that somebody else puts them in define them, especially when it comes to motherhood.
I would love to mention, if you don't mind me chiming in, I would love to mention how we have been so disassociated ourselves from our bodies and from food being thy medicine. And when it comes to, your concern, Kai, it's so funny you mentioned that, because just earlier my sister asked me, and she's been on one of your podcasts before, and she was like, I wonder how old Kai is. And I was like, she's probably 50, looking all 20 and shit. Because melanin, does not crack. Okay. So we have to keep that same energy when somebody tries to tell us we're too old for something like creating and delivering healthy babies. Because when you take a look at many women, when you do things intentionally, there's always a beautiful result on the other side. So if you're rushing to have a child because of this quote unquote age limit that they put on you, you're not doing that for yourself. But if you're intentionally taking care of your body, putting in good foods, live foods that keep you young, inside, now, it doesn't matter what it looks like in the outside. Well, if your skin is cracking and stuff like that, your food is the determination of that, right? Your health. But if you're putting good foods into your body, you're taking care of your body, self-care rituals and ceremonies for yourself. Your partner is taking care of himself. You're going to be able to conceive unless there is an underlying health issue that you might not know of and have not considered, putting more attention to. So I would say we have to be very intentional about listening to what certain groups of people tell us what we can and cannot do with our bodies. I'm sorry, who made you creator? Yeah, didn't think so. The Black woman created most of everything. So let's start there. So maybe changing that mindset of um, what you can and cannot do, and just focusing on making sure your body is healthy and prepared to conceive for when you're ready. So that means, yes, consuming those herbs, spices, and really live foods that keep you fertile. but you're still practicing, your natural ways of contraception. But it's still that intention that you're putting. I'm preparing my body. The way I feel I got pregnant with twins, not only that I manifested them since I was young, apparently, I actually intentionally, at the turn of 27 years old, I started taking prenatal vitamins, and they were obviously plant-based vitamins. And I was doing capsules before I did tinctures, but I was doing these plant-based based vitamins prenatals because I was like, I'm 27, I might be single, but at one point I'm going to meet my husband and I should be healthy enough and prepared to get pregnant. I swear that was my mindset. Not that I was so worried about conceiving, but the world teaches you that after a certain age you can't do it. And there is some biological truths of women being extremely, fertile during the, what is it, 20 to, I think it's like 15 to 25. So we have to consider the biological truths and respect Mother Nature. But then after that, we are in different times. Sometimes you can sit here, manifest your babies by putting their names on a whiteboard, and then you have twins. So, changing that mindset, everything you hear from a medical provider or, somebody who maybe does not look like you and doesn't know where your people come from. I think it's important to speaking truth and life into your own self before you take somebody else's advice. Your intuition is always key.
Thank you. Super helpful.
I want to say that I think that the biggest problem is that for the obstetric system, there's easier if there's something wrong with us. So if there's nothing wrong with us, they're just going to make it. So there's something wrong with us, or we believe we need their help. So once you get in there, it doesn't really matter. I mean, really big things that make you high risk, there are not those very many. But I remember when I used to work clinically, that was a few years ago now, but we did have this checklist. And obviously if you score over 10, I can't even remember the number anymore, then you were considered high risk. But some of the things that gave you points, it was just so ridiculous. Like this, you got pregnant within a year from the last pregnancy. So what? I mean, if your body can do it, that means you can do it. It's not, I mean, how is the system going to know or to give you a check for that one? What you were saying that you're old to have a baby. Well, I'm old to have a baby when my body knows that I'm old to have a baby, and then I will stop being able to have a baby. But if I'm fertile, then I'm not too old, or you're too big, or you weigh too little. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's not going to be a person that is going to be completely low risk, because we all are individuals and we all have our own unique characteristics. So that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to say. And that has such a huge impact in every person. I mean, if you start a pregnancy, if you start your maternity journey being told you're not good enough, you don't reach the line, we're going to put you in an extra category, but don't worry, because we are going to help you. You don't have nothing to worry. When it is actually you who are not helping. It is actually you who are telling me I'm not good enough, or there is a danger there behind the corner. How is that helping me? You are the specialist. You know that maybe because of my condition, there's something that might need a little bit more of attention. Do that. But don't blame me for the characteristics that you've decided are appropriate or not. And for me, every time I've looked after people, is those women who need something, who have been classified high risk, who have been scared and have been threatened that they're not going to be able to do it because whatever the reason, because they're too heavy, because what happened last pregnancy is like, well, that was last pregnancy, and it's quite likely that the reason that it happened, it had something to do with the way things were managed or things were done. I think if we protect the birth space, the likelihood of things going wrong just comes to a very minimum. But for that, we need to start telling women how capable you are, how great your body is, how you can do this. And I'm just here to help you and support you. And let's do a festival of what this is happening, what it is, what you want. Let us, with our knowledge, let us walk you through it, or help you if you need us. Not even walk you through it. You walk, and we're just here in case you need anything in your journey. But I think that's the biggest problem, is that this is the wrong approach. This is, how can it be that in the process of giving birth, the only person or the only people that should be important there actually take a secondary perspective, and they are the others who are actually the protagonists of somebody else's story.
So that's so, like, we get into these places of normalcy, right? And birth is normal until it's not. Each mother is bio-individual. And so we have all these parameters. And when you don't fit into those parameters, now we have to start doing things, right? And instead of letting this mother have her normal.
Exactly.
And being there for when she needs assistance. And so, you know, when we're in these places of having to make decisions, and especially in birth, you know, I was taught that we would brain, you know, what are the benefits? What are the risks? What are the alternatives? You know, what does your intuition tell you? And what happens if I do nothing? Right? And with all the fear, mothers don't even have a chance to do that. They've got to make a decision now. And it's the fear that's being sold. And so again, how do we find this place of, again, you know, Kai's got a million questions about momming, right? And so, you know, she got, you know, as we're having these conversations, things are getting answered. So now, first of all, damn, I'm a geriatric pregnancy now. And as she goes through that journey, but so we know that that's not true. We are made abundant, and this is how we are when we care for ourselves, have good intention, trust our intuition, change our mindset, you know, get support. These things change, right? But again, every story that a woman hears around birth most often aren't stories of empowerment. They're stories of fear. Okay. And when we're in fear, we're producing adrenaline. We're not producing oxytocin, which provides our pain management. And it makes us steady. You know, we're not in a safe, and, you know, people don't understand how birth works. And we are wondering why it's the way it is now, the way that we're seeing it within the medical model, that heroic, you know, that's what you were explaining, the heroic model of healing, right? So we really find ourselves in a quandary. What do I do? Should I have kids? You know what? This person, you know, all the women in my family had C-sections. I don't want to do that. Or, you know what? Mental health trauma. There are so many levels. And so coming back to midwifery and that, or even self-directed birth. Okay, because let's talk about self-directed birth. Okay, I know women, you know, I interviewed with a mother, and I knew right away she wasn't going to have anybody at her birth. She didn't like her midwife. She didn't like her midwife assistant. She interviewed me because someone recommended me. But when I talked to her, I was like, this woman is going to have her baby by herself. And she literally went into the bathroom, took a slug of whiskey, and came out with a baby. Not even her husband was in there. So that's self-directed, right? And again, we're talking, are you low risk? So again, you have to know thyself. So what does that look like? That looks like, you know what, maybe taking your blood pressure every day, checking your glucose every day, palpating your belly, knowing what's going on with you because you're growing this baby. And so there's so many things, and it comes back to, I didn't know I was allowed.
Very true.
And they work for us. They work for us. So
That's, sorry.
is Mother Earth geriatric, birthing for millions on millions of years. Let's take Mother's lead. Well, let's talk about that. She gives us the playbook. She tells us what to do year after year. She produces food. She is abundant and amazing. As we are, we do what galaxies do. We are universes personified. But when we go to be that universe, people are like, nah, that's not how you do supernovas. You don't do it like that.
Irene, I'm so curious what you were saying.
Yeah, I wanted to say that last time we met each other, it was just when the world had gone crazy. And I remember I did a video about if you're going to have your baby on your own, this is the information I've got for you. I hope it's helpful for anyone, because I knew, obviously already there were a lot of people just giving birth without anyone because that's how they felt. That's what I did myself. Both of my babies, it was just their father there and myself, nobody else. But the problem is that we, and I say we as the obstetric system, even I don't feel that I'm there, we are making people believe that they need us. And the good thing, once you make people fearful of something, you can do whatever you want. And the moment those ones who actually start saying, I want to change this. I'm not fearful. I'm fearful of going to the hospital or being looked after by somebody who is not really empathetic, but I want to change something. Then those around you are going to move that fear that they've got, trying to give it to you, because, well, that's how fear works. When somebody, usually, in Spain, home birth is something like just of crazy hippie women, and the vast majority of people would just think that that's just, you're not right on your head. And when somebody looks for home birth, or that's something, whenever there's a program on television and they're discussing home birth, there will always be somebody in the public saying, my son or my whoever, somebody in the family is alive thanks to being born in a hospital. And then they tell you a long, horrible story that ended up with the baby being taken away from the mother, the baby being rescued by a group of specialists and put in an incubator. And it's like, thank goodness that we were in a hospital. If we had been at home, it's like, well, if you had been at home, probably everything would have gone fine, and you wouldn't have had any of that separation and all the machinery on all that horror story that you went through. Probably it was because of the people who look after you, and nothing to do with you and your baby. But it's very powerful. Just make your tribe fearful of you, and, well, just look at how, not only in birth, in politics, how that has worked for centuries, and it still works in many countries. Just make people fearful, and then do whatever you please. Whenever you try to rebel a little bit, you just put them back in their place, and just call them crazy, or just tell the rest of the people that they don't know what they're talking about, and just carry on doing your own thing. I just wanted to say one thing, because I've been saying midwives. For me, midwife is any person who works with a woman. So because I tend to say midwife, I'm talking about all people who are with women. So anyone who hears me saying midwives, this is just how I talk about all of us.
Just to spin off, because she mentioned some topics that I actually went through myself with my premature daughter Anaya, and yeah, it's so true what she said about how, like, I never looked at it as, oh, thank God we were in the hospital, because if we weren't in the hospital, I honestly thought of it as like, well, I'm gonna let them do some of what they want to do just to make sure, you know, she's okay. But I rebelled against, like, I want to say like 80% of the things that they were telling me they needed to do. Like, they told me I needed to stay under their care, and I was like, no, I'm discharging myself so I can go with her, because they wanted to send her to a different hospital. And it was like 30 minutes after stitches, for those of you who didn't hear my speech yesterday. But on top of that, I felt like me being there with her every second of every day and giving her breast milk, and it helped all the problems that premature babies face naturally. Just what they say about, oh, well, the oxygen levels are low and the heart rate, and just me being with her, doing skin to skin, holding her, talking to her, even just talking to her, all of that stuff, I instantly saw every day she improved every day. So I feel like maybe if, as soon as I gave birth to her, they didn't just cut her cord super quick, give her to me for like 5 seconds, and just immediately take her away, that she probably wouldn't have been in respiratory distress to begin with. So
Exactly, like,
another thing is, for those of you who are familiar, I did sit in on some of Wapio's teachings, and I had that kind of like background knowledge of, okay, well, you know, we get surges of energy and they tell you to push at this time, but this is when you feel you're ready to push. This is when you push. And just like um, she mentioned that the separation anxiety between mother and baby causes complications for mother and baby. Hemorrhaging is one of the things that some women go through, and that can be caused by separation anxiety. You know, if you were to just give a mom who's hemorrhaging back her child that you've been connected for 9 months, 8 months, however long, whenever you went into labor, just a direct link, and all of a sudden this baby comes in the world and you're just like, snip, okay, bye, let me put you around a whole bunch of people you've never even heard their voice before. Of course there's going to be respiratory distress. Let me put you in another country where you don't know anybody and tell me if you don't have a panic attack. Like, I just wanted to throw that out there really quick.
very good.
Your mom asked home birth for the next one, Yuvelka.
Don't know about that. Don't know. Maybe.
Yasmin, anything you want to add on?
Yeah, I mean, whew. First of all, I had a similar experience. I had a NICU baby, Uvalka. So I feel you and see you on that. But I had a very motherly, nurturing birth worker who lit the fire up my ass, who also was a NICU mom as a teen mom, Mariday, who really reminded me who the F I was during my experience, because, well, we're going through our pregnancy experience and our birthing experience. You know, this vortex is opening. We are becoming one with Creator. So we are receiving constantly downloads of what we are supposed to be preparing for to bring forth this new life into this, you know, earth that we're currently occupying in. And so I was kind of still out of it when I gave birth. I gave birth at home to my twin babies, both breech. And I gave birth Tuesday to my son, Wednesday to my daughter. And when I had my son, I had an orgasmic birth. It was from Sunday to Tuesday, an amazing experience. You know, if you ever get a chance to try this, you know, go for it. You definitely have to take on a badass warrior perspective and badge of honor to walk through this experience of motherhood. And when you commit to it, you get different results. And you get the results of feeling empowered and feeling heard and feeling, one with creator and purposeful, especially when you surround yourself with a team that is empowering you through the process and reminding you how many women had to do this before you got here, and that's what really got me through my journey. I handpicked everybody I wanted to be my doula, my midwife, my breastfeed consultant, my personal, helper. Like, just, I literally manifested these people. Some I didn't know, who are now really good friends. Can you pick them up? Yeah. And I actually had, my son was born Tuesday. My daughter was born Wednesday, but she was born unresponsive. Her heart was strong and beating, but she was born not breathing. So I immediately, in my birth worker stance and intuition, I started giving her mouth to mouth. I actually put my son and her both on my chest. I was like, bring me my son to see if she comes back. If her essence or her soul comes back into her body from where she was deciding whether, where she was going to go. And that's something intuitively I know to do, because we are spirit beings occupying a human body. So it was something I knew, traditional midwifery style, put them together on my chest, hear my heartbeat, um, but there was also the human part of me that was like, okay, maybe we should transfer to a hospital because she's not improving. So we did so. And she went to a different hospital. And I then, when she left, my sister took her. When she left, I, was like, let me get ready and go. And I'll take the son with me and everything. But then I started to bleed out and I went into shock. And then it was a whole experience of, something's happening to me. I have to survive to go get my kids wherever they took them. But then I told whoever was around me to call the EMS because I was losing breath. I couldn't breathe anymore. And the the medical providers came, the EMTs, they came and they ended up taking me to another hospital. So now I was separated from my babies. And it changed everything. It changed the perspective. It changed my plan, my whole plan, and my wish or desire of how to birth my children at home. I'm an indigenous person, so I don't, subscribe to any of the methods or the white man's paperwork and hospital and all that shit. So I was like, okay, now this is changing the way I have to go about my own indigenous rights. Reclaiming them was so necessary, even to go see my child during the height of COVID, even to go take my son while I was visiting my daughter during the height of COVID. It was such a process. But if I didn't have that team of birth workers around me that included traditional midwives and people like Mara Day, I don't know where I would be. My midwives, when they learned that my daughter was not going to survive, they because they weren't able to be there necessarily at that time. So when they learned that my daughter was going to transition and she was not going to stay with us in this world, they came into my house, and the postpartum checkup was different. It was more of a ceremony of life and death. It was more of normalizing that with birth comes death, and we have to respect that it's a cycle, and that creator is the ruler of it all, not God, not no man in a white coat, not no person with a suit in a governmental office, but we as women, as spiritual beings, as people, as humans, we have to remember that we still have a say so and a human right to how we handle our human experiences. And I was very grateful to have chosen my midwives and the birth workers around me who held space throughout the whole process. Even while I was trying to get my baby boy breastfeeding, um, you know, 3 days after being separated from him, them giving him formula, my mom saying, you should give this kid a bunch of bottles. You're making him starve. Mara Day was like, no, kick everybody out, get naked with your baby, sit there in the bed with him, cry, scream, just touch, feel up on your baby, love up on your baby. And my son is going on 5 months breastfeeding exclusively. I wish somebody would tell me otherwise. Okay, so that midwifery team, that woman who's willing to listen to you, that's all we freaking need for anything in life. Whether you're a man or a woman, all you need is people who love you and support you genuinely. And that's what midwifery is.
It is. I really, sorry, have loved to listen to this story. Jasmine, I really agree, and what you've just said also, Yuvelka. I think it's just each one of us, we know what we need, or even if we don't know, we are the ones who know more of anybody else. So the rest is just accompany us, just make that better. Nothing more. Maybe we don't need absolutely anything, so don't do anything that's making it better. Just don't add anything, or just don't take anything away from us. It's what I told you at the beginning. I'm becoming an educator is exactly because of what Jasmine Teresa has just said. After seeing this is what we need. We need to change the paradigm, and we need to change the way midwives and birth workers are trained. They need to understand. When you were saying that when your daughter was born and you asked for your son, and you did what, I mean, nobody would have done anything better than what you did at that moment. Even if they had the most highest technology just there next to you, you did what you had to do. It's in your instinct, it's in you. You know what you have to do in that moment. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to train midwives, to train birth workers to work from that perspective. Listen to the mother. She knows what to do, but listen from the very beginning. So when you are with her at birth, you don't have to make any questions, because you just need to listen to know what she needs, what you have to do, how you need to help her, what you need to help her.
Amen to that. And there's never enough time. We're
here.
at our
Oh
hour. 2:00. Ding ding.
dear.
And it goes so fast. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
thank you, thank you all so much. I'm
I
honored.
just wanted to end on the note of, what's meant to be will be, right? So we just need to leave it in the hands of the Almighty, whoever you think that is, whatever you think that is.
Amen. We'll be back.
See you in 11 minutes.
See you in 11 minutes.